this for the 5 years of our existence to learn quite a bit about how that works. The easiest answer to your question is that it should be impossible to end up at the stage you're speaking of at anywhere under like 95%. If you're under that, you skipped a part of the process earlier on, in our opinions. The reason for that is the first third, so our process was a bit different. We didn't quite do the 5 stages you were talking about. Ours were kind of split into thirds. We kind of had the design research, kind of the design thinking process. We had the literal design process, the user interface. We had the development and deployment process. Those are kind of our thirds. But that first third, even though it might have been a third of the budget or timeline, was 90% of the work.
Did you screen the concept though, or test it before you moved it?
Well after all of this.
Really?
And so let me kind of go back to the beginning. What we were paid for, the reason we became so fast growing, so valuable to these big clients and so successful, is that first third was our specialty. And prototypes, testing, etc., was the last sliver of that third. The majority of it was ethnography, user research, all the studies that we would do, the longitudinal studies. That was where we focused. That's why I employed PhDs in cognitive psychology, behavioral psychology, human-computer interaction. It was all about the human being. And frankly, understanding a customer or a user better than they understood themselves. And if you understand that, and if you get really deep, I mean really deep into the psyches and the needs and the wants and the desires and the motivations of a person, you shouldn't only be at 60%. It should be impossible. Once you understand all of that, you kind of know what's going to work. And then you can test it and make sure and tweak it and everything else. But there's little ambiguity once you've done that part of the process right and well. That was extremely difficult to do, and it takes a lot of work and extremely smart people and a diverse group. But that's why we were so successful, is by the time we ever theorized or wireframed or prototyped a product, there was no question it was going to work, because we already had all the insights we needed to know that for a fact.
That's interesting because it's the position of theory and practice, which
Yes.
we're learning here in college.
Yeah.
That is supposed products supposed to reach like 70 or 75% threshold in order to go to the development process, and it would be considered very risky to sort of put money and develop it before that as a prototype,
Yeah.
not just to screen it.
Which I agree with. I think the premise you're being educated is completely accurate. All I'm saying is that there might be more to do earlier that might make it so that is almost an impossibly low threshold to get to, where you have so much data and you're so insightful about the need that it's almost impossible to create something that wouldn't work as well as you want it to at the end. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Great. Yes?
I have a question. So when you pick up a relationship, a new one, and you enter a new market, you mentioned that you try to take it to the finish line. So what is your definition of that finish line? And once you reach that finish line, then what happens next? Do you keep innovating or just move on to the next project?
It's a great question as well. I've gone through a spectrum of different motivations in my life when it comes to business. And I think some of this is that younger, more immature idealism compared to more of the realism that I might have now after some pretty harsh lessons along the way. I think at the beginning, I was much more concerned with longevity, with building a big company that people would know and could maybe even be multi-generational and global and these kind of aspects that are more traditional entrepreneurship, right? Especially here in Europe, which is far more than we have back in America when it comes to the idealization of entrepreneurship, of these, of a sustainable kind of brand that you're going to hold on to for a long time, and it's going to, have some hugely positive impact. That's where I started, as most people do. I lost interest in that after so many failures of realizing that it was going to be extremely difficult to ever get there in the way that my brain works, in the way that I am as an entrepreneur. And especially once I kind of entered that desperation stage I spoke to, call it my mid-20s, late 20s. All I needed to do then was find success in a much more, I would say, raw capitalistic perspective. I needed to have some success, make some money, and to make something work. So when I founded my last company, 10 years earlier, this would have disgusted me to admit. But when I did my last company, the one that became the big company, it was how fast can I grow this thing, and how much money can I make, and then how fast can I run away from it that way. As crazy as that sounds, and as kind of messed up as that might sound, that was literally my mindset, which caused every single decision I made in that company to be solely focused on that goal. Now, in the meantime, we built an extremely valuable company that employed amazing, smart people. We did amazing work for our clients. Everyone was extremely happy with us in every regard. And Salesforce, one of the biggest tech companies in the world, acquired that business and frankly overpaid for it 5 years into its existence. And everyone was happy. So we still achieved a number of those goals that I kind of wanted to achieve, but I had built it with a completely different mindset that changed a lot kind of over my career. So there is no right or wrong answer. The finish line is different for every project I do, every business that I have. But the most important thing is to be hyper aware of what that finish line is and to define that very early and then make every single decision only going towards that finish line. And if you start a business and say, we'll see what happens, maybe I run it, maybe I sell it, maybe I grow it slow, maybe I grow it fast, you're gonna really struggle. And that's kind of a recipe for failure, in my opinion. When I invest in a business, one of the first questions I ask is, what is the goal and how quickly are you gonna achieve that goal? Or how long does it take you, or whatever that is. And if they don't have a clear answer towards that, that's one of the first reasons that I would get up and leave pitch.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes?
Hi, so my name is Panayotis. Thank you so much for being here. You really helped us.
Thanks for having me.
I would like to ask your business interest in Greece regarding your investments, and because we know it's a very hot topic right now, investing in real estate. So are you interested only in investing in real estate massively, or also creating job opportunities for Greeks?
It's a great question. So currently my businesses in Greece are real estate, hospitality, retail, a concierge service, and student art gallery. So it's already a little bit diversified. So it's not just real estate, although that is an outsizedly larger portion of the portfolio mix here, only because it's quite expensive compared to the rest of them. So that's why it has a larger ratio. And I've been at this 18 months in Greece. So, we have a lot of work to do and a lot of things we want to see happen. I'm here because we see lucrative business opportunity. At the same time, as I said earlier, we truly believe that this is a hub for investment, for innovation, for tech and other things. So I'm looking forward, and the reason I'm doing talks like this is to learn more, is to connect with the government, with the embassy, and with the mayor, and to learn of where else we can extend our reach. Because one thing that's happened with me and Hamza and other folks from our team is we're not the only ones, but we're one of the few who might be younger kind of entrepreneurs who have come into this region doing what we're doing. And therefore, we're becoming natural brokers to other businesses who want to enter the region, who have no idea how to. So we're very interested and focused on understanding every aspect of potential business to be done here, whether we start it, whether we broker it, whether we invest in it, and seeing where this could take us, not just in Greece, but also in the region. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. Go ahead.
Mr. Roth, what are your keys of success?
What are my keys of success? Don't fail. Just kidding. That's awful advice. I love failing. My keys of success, you need to have an unshakable confidence in yourself, even when you maybe shouldn't have that level of confidence in yourself. I'm going to tell you something that probably no speaker or entrepreneur has told you before. We don't know what we're doing ever. Period. Every day I wake up and I make it up as I go, we figure it out as we go. I enter businesses I've never even worked in, much less owned or run. I have conversations that are so far above my pay grade that I shouldn't even be in the room. But not this one, I'm qualified to do this, I promise. But at the end of the day, that is the stark characteristic of being an entrepreneur is want to solve problems. So I see every day and these uncertainties and these risks as just problems to be solved. And I come in with the utmost confidence that we will solve them one way or the other. Are we gonna make mistakes? Absolutely, every day. Are we gonna learn really harsh lessons? Hopefully less and less over time, but yes, constantly. Is there gonna be really difficult situations and bad investments every single day? Anytime I'm in a private setting with even the biggest entrepreneurs in the world, they admit this. They just have a tendency not to do it in public because it makes them sound kind of weak or whatever it might be that prevents them. But this is the harsh reality. So that outsized confidence, that one way or the other, you will figure it out, is by and large, at least my key to success. And nothing has taken me further than that. I would say another is, going back to the concept of failure, is not only don't be afraid to fail, but you really have to embrace it and somewhat enjoy it. Failure to me is simply an opportunity to then go on and do the next thing with a whole new set of knowledge. You don't learn a lot from success. You really don't. I mean, call it the 5, almost 6 years that I did Okta, my last business, which was the one that really worked, I learned less in that venture than I have in the last 18 months combined of trying a lot of things, of entering 5 or 6 new geographies, 5 or 6 new industries that I've never been involved in, making a bunch of mistakes, doing some pretty stupid crap. And ultimately I've learned more then than I have in years. And that is the mindset of a successful entrepreneur, is to embrace that uncertainty and that risk and that failure. And if you have to shut something down, as soon as you can admit it's dead, kill it, kick it to the side, learn and move on with a smile on your face. And that is an extremely